AMC's looking nice. Room service if I like, I order twice. Hibachi, got the gravy on the rice. Rolling in
Pittsburgh Steelers fans, welcome back to another edition of the Steelers Q&A. Thursday night, following up on the preview. I hope you got a chance to tune into the preview and listen to Jeff, Dave, and Brian break down the upcoming game. We're going to kind of do the same, but with our own twist, as we always do, answering your questions, discussing all of the big topics that are on our minds as Steeler fans. And to do that with me this week, somebody that I love to have on the show. This is like, I think your third time now, and let's keep it rocking. Corey Eckenroth joins the show at, I'm not even going to try that X handle, man. You're going to have to, how do you say that? How do you, when you tell people your X handle, how do you say it?
So as you look at my first and my last name, it's really all of the O's are replaced with zeros and all of the E's are replaced with threes. And if you do that, that's the only thing that's different.
There you go. So it's at Corey Eckenroth with zeros and threes where there's O's and E's. How about that?
That's right.
Perfect. I love it. All right. Hey, I know you're excited as I am about the 3-0 start. I know we also share similar ideas about the Steelers, how they win football games. And eventually they're going to have to probably be a little bit more dynamic on offense if they want to go up against the big guns in the AFC. But you have to feel good about where they're at right now. So let me open the floor to you. Do you feel good about where they're at? And do you think this is a team that can continue to grow into something that can contend in an AFC that they're right on top of right now?
I think because of their hot start, they put themselves in prime position for the rest of this first half of the season for sure. This defense is playing lights out, isn't it? It's amazing to watch them play. And if they are on their game and the defense is reacting to the offense's changes accordingly, if the coaches are playing that chess match, I don't know if there's a team in this league that this defense can't hold down. They look lights out right now. So I'm excited to watch every single drive that they go out on the field, not knowing what's going to happen. I haven't felt this excited about watching the defense play since probably 2008. So it's been really fun to watch this whole thing go.
You remember when the Steelers acquired Minkah Fitzpatrick in 2019, and everything kind of came together that year on the defensive side of the ball, and they were like top 3 in almost every category, but the offense just absolutely stunk. Ben Roethlisberger gets hurt, right? So the offense goes away. They were losing early, despite the defense being pretty good. And then the defense just got really good. But there was no offense to keep up with it. I feel like the Steelers finally have an offense that can do something to support the defense in a way that we haven't seen in a while. So that's what gets me excited. And so just off the top here, and I'd love to get the thoughts of all the listeners as well. And I apologize. I'm going to get 100 emergency notifications tonight because we're right in the path of this hurricane tropical storm that's coming through, and it's about to hit us in full force here in just a few minutes. So hopefully I don't blow away on screen. But if I do, Corey, you take it from there, man. But
I'll try and catch you. I'll try and catch you on the way by as you blow through.
Okay, sounds good. I would appreciate that. Save the cat and my wife and kid before you get me, though. Okay, so just I don't know why I listen to the cat first. Maybe because she's the only one who takes the time to appear on my shows every now and then. But just hold up in the kids' room tonight. Anyway, the question I want to ask: how many AFC teams? Which AFC teams? You and I did this before the season started. Which AFC teams now are better than the Steelers as we sit here today? Like, if you're just ranking the teams right now, and you've got the Bills are 3-0, the Chiefs are 3-0, the Steelers are 3-0 in the AFC. And is that the list? Is that about it? Or do you have anybody else that you'd throw above the Steelers right now? It's kind of hard to pick anybody the way they're playing complementary football.
So let's just kind of go through the divisions a little bit. Let's just start with, the North. can they dethrone Baltimore? They've had Baltimore's number a lot over the last couple of years, so that's a definite yes to that. Is the defense good enough to beat Cincinnati? Absolutely, there's no question there. Is it good enough to beat Cleveland? Yes. Now we actually have an offense that plays complementary football, game management football that can, as long as they play mistake free, I don't think there's a team in this league that this team cannot beat right now. They just, with this defense, I can't overstate that enough. This defense is just so lights, and what they're doing right now is just unprecedented.
Yeah, it's start off is historic, right? And it could continue that way because they're just playing so well together and they're so well coached. And I don't know about you, but I felt like the adjustments mid-game have been spot on. And that's why you see a total of 6 points allowed over the second half of the first 3 games of the season. You know what I mean? So I think they can continue to do that. I think I'm taking Buffalo and Kansas City over Pittsburgh right now just because of track record in the AFC, but that's about it. I would pick the Steelers over anybody else right now, the way they're playing. And I know you can probably sit back and say, well, you got a Colts team that's got a lot of up and downs in their gameplay, but when they're up, they can be really explosive, and the Steelers are going to have to watch out for that. I agree with that, but I also think that the Steelers match up well against this Colts team. I also think there's a big game next week against the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. Is this a trap game?
Are they looking ahead?
Is this a trap game for the Pittsburgh Steelers? What do you think?
It absolutely is. No, it absolutely is. I mean, wasn't it last year when they lost to the Colts? So, it's you can't overlook any team at any point. Historically, the Steelers do match up well with the Colts, just like the Steelers historically match up well with the Chargers. And in saying that, typically the Steelers versus the Colts is one of those matchups where the individual matchups are overwhelmingly in favor of the Steelers. And in this case, I was doing some research earlier. Right now, the run D rankings, the Colts are 31st out of 32, and the Steelers are number 2 out of 32, and then that's going to be the huge difference in this game. With the Steelers, if they're able to grind out drives, I think that they're going to be able to just take control of this game, do whatever they want. We may not even see 20 throws from Justin Fields simply because they're not even going to need them. But it is going to come down to possession. It's going to come down to ball control. And, one of the things that I think the Colts can do to win this game is elicit turnovers. Can they get some turnovers? We saw a chink in the armor. Sure, it was a batted ball. Justin Fields threw an interception. But can they get a fumble here? Can they make something happen in the special teams? It's you never can tell. So there's always a quote unquote puncher's chance, but I would think that with the play styles of both of these teams, it's overwhelmingly in the Steelers' favor.
It is, and unless the Steelers beat the Steelers this week, they should walk out with a win, I think.
Yep.
But also,
that's also part of this equation too, because in the first couple of weeks the Steelers were killing themselves with penalties. However, when they come in last week, they actually didn't have a whole lot. So let's hope that they can continue that trend.
Yeah, absolutely. And Blue Nose Steelhead sounding very Mike Tomlin-y right here. It's not a trap game, but it can't be taken lightly. This game is the biggest of the year because it is what it is. It's this week's game. Hey, Blue Nose, you've been listening to too many Mike Tomlin press conferences to be you talking like that. That sounds like you've been reading the Tomlin handbook, man. I mean, I agree. And the Steelers could very well have that type of mentality, right? What was it several years ago? Every matchup's a 5-star matchup because we're in it, right? Maybe the Steelers' philosophy is every game or this game is the biggest game of the season because it's the one that's next. That should be the mentality. But these guys are human, right? There could be some look aheads going on here. The one thing I wanted to mention
Sorry, go ahead. One of the things I wanted to say was, I want people to look back at this game or later on in the season and say, sometimes you play good teams, sometimes you play bad teams, and you can't make excuses for it. I want them to look back at the Colts and say, we had to play who we were scheduled and we rolled them.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Exactly. Yeah. I have said for a long time, I'm tired of this team being like the on the doorstep team, right?
Yep.
The under the radar team. A lot of people like it when the Steelers are under the radar, but man, give me all the. I want to be considered a top 3 team in the league. I want to be looked at as a juggernaut. I want to be that feeling of like the mid 2010s Steelers, where it was like when the national media is talking about teams who could win it all, the Steelers are right at the top of the list of teams that could do it. I want that again. And, you've got to work through the underdog mentality to get there. I think this is a year you've got to be able to do that. And the one thing that I think I feel more comfortable about this year after just 3 games than I have for as long as I can think of since 2018, 2017 Roethlisberger stuff is if the run game can't get going, I believe that the Steelers can do enough with Justin Fields in the passing game to make up for that. So if the Colts load the box this weekend and they make it tough for the Steelers to run the ball, I think Justin Fields can get behind the defense with some passes. I think that secondary, though they've got a couple good pieces, it's not elite. I think that they can make plays down the field. So let's go. Let's see it. Let's see it, Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I want to see Justin Fields first play of the game, strong eye formation, go play action and throw the tight end seam right down the middle for, good 60, 70 yards for a touchdown. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. I was looking
I want to see him continue to attack that middle of that field.
Yeah.
They got to continue to grow that. They've got Justin Fields. They're starting to grow his confidence there. The running or the passing game in the middle is starting to open up. And once that does, there's no limits to what this offense is going to do. We have to start thinking, as crazy as this 3-0 start is, I know it sounds really optimistic, but we really have to start thinking about what the ceiling is going to be for this team. Because, if DraftKings is going to give us, 8 and 9 as come on, this is a no-brainer. We got 3 wins already. We only need 5 more to hit the over on that. I hope people put some money on that bet. I know I did.
Yeah, man. I've made it a point that I take the over on the Steelers record prediction every year because it's always 7.5, 8.5. And it's like, that's easy money right there.
8.5 was a no-brainer this year. 8.5 was a no-brainer this year.
Now, here's my question: Did you go for the better odds by increasing that? Did you hit them at 9.5 or 10.5 even? Did you feel comfortable with that, or did you just settle with the 8.5 and call it a day?
I did put 2 bets in. I put one. I put one on the line at 8.5, and then I teased another one to 10.5. So I got some increased odds on that one because I think they can hit 11. I feel comfortable at 11, 12. That seems, I think, where their ceiling might be. They may hit 13 at this point. Who knows? This defense, I can't stop talking about this defense.
No, and it's so true. It really is. And we'll get to some questions and talk here in a minute from the listeners. But I'm so optimistic, and I just hope the injury bug doesn't derail this team. That's the only thing on the defensive side of the ball that I think could do that. And then on offense, can they continue to grow? I'm excited to see what they do. Let's go ahead and do this. Let's take a break. On the audio side, if you're listening on audio, we're going to have a little word from our sponsors here. If you're watching live on YouTube, Facebook, X, we are not going anywhere. So you don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here on the Steelers Q&A. All right, welcome back to the Steelers Q&A. I almost say Sunday night every time. The Steelers Sunday night Q&A because that's what I always used to be. But following up the preview on Thursday nights now, it's a lot of fun. Thank you all for sticking around. For those of you who are in the chat, I do want to get to Vinny's question that he asked a while back. And we're talking about the defense. And Vinny Aguakun says, I've heard people say Minkah is washed. Why can't we appreciate him despite not having the splash plays? I think this is a great topic to speak to because if you're out there saying Minkah Fitzpatrick is washed, you're not watching the football games. You're just not watching the football games because this dude is in complete control of his game. And it's elite level stuff to watch him just fill gaps in the box, to watch him come down and run support, to watch him take away throws that quarterbacks thought were automatic, and then the pressure gets there and they take a sack, because these quarterbacks don't throw at him anymore. They just do not throw at him anymore. If they see 39 in the window, it's a done deal. They are not throwing the football. So that's what's making this difficult. And that's what I see when I watch the game tape. What do you think, Corey?
So we used to talk about Darrelle Revis, Revis Island, and his ability to take away in a receiver. And the thing of it is that he would have pass defenses, but his stats would typically be very low. And the entire reason for that is because quarterbacks simply avoided throwing his way. You're not going to have a lot of stats if nobody's throwing your way, but you're still doing your job at an elite level. And that's exactly what's happening with Minkah here. He is doing his job. He's not just taking away one receiver in one corner of the field. He's taking away an entire third of the back end of the entire football field. And when you have somebody that can do that for you, cover that much ground and just play quarterback, because that's what he's been allowed to do this year, is play quarterback. And he's been able to read every play and mop up everything. And that is why our stats are what they are, in allowing so few yards like we have. Third down efficiency, third down red zone efficiency. It's because Minkah's playing quarterback on the back end of that defense so well.
Yeah, he really is. And like a lot of Steelers fans probably look at him in relation to what you saw from Troy Polamalu on the field, right? But Polamalu played a different game, and the Steelers let him play a different game. Like he was a wild card on the back end, whereas Minkah has a real specific role that they have him playing. It's not as freelance as what Troy Polamalu did. So, Troy made his own plays. He made his own luck a lot of times with putting himself in position. And Minkah does that to a point, but also this defense is built around soundness on the back end and just kind of keeping everything up in front and allowing that pass rush to get there. It's a different style of ball. And it's impressive to me to see him play and just take full advantage of that role and deal every week. He's just dealing every week. It's a lot of fun to watch. So
Tomlin's stamp on Minkah Fitzpatrick is that he's not going to be a Troy Polamalu. He's going to be the Tampa 2 Rondé Barber. He's going to be the Ed Reed, for lack of a better term. He's going to be that free safety robber type. He's not going to be the box safety, Tasmanian devil type. So they kind of play two distinct roles in the defense, and Minkah plays more to Tomlin's stamp on it than he does Troy Polamalu and Dick LeBeau's stamp on him.
Yeah, for sure. That's what I see when I watch the tape. It's a guy who is playing within the confines of the offense or of the defensive structure, and not breaking away from that, but making plays nonetheless. And so, the turnovers are down, the takeaways are down, but the impact is not. And it is good to see him playing more of the role that we liked him to play than he had to last year, because last year he was basically a box safety, and he did a fantastic job at that too. He was probably a top 3 or 4 box safety last year, but that's not where you want him necessarily.
That's not who he is.
Yeah, that's not who he is. So it's fun to see him play, and he doesn't get talked about as much as TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, the guys up front, but he's just as important to this team as any of those guys.
He is that elite piece in the secondary, because all the best defenses will have an elite piece on the line, an elite piece at the linebacker position, and an elite piece in the secondary. We've got Cam, we've got TJ, we've got Minkah. Obviously, we've got a lot more tools than that this year too, but those are the 3 elite pieces that we would base our defense off of.
Yeah. All right, let's talk some offense here. I've got a couple questions starred here that we'll take a look at. Another one from Vinny. Vinny keeps us answering questions. We appreciate you, man. Does anyone notice how Fields is playing with his least talented skilled group? We know what he had in OSU and with the Bears. Outside of Pickens, he's doing more with less. What do you guys think? Corey, I'll open the floor to you. What do you think? Is this the worst skill position group of Fields' career?
I'm having a hard time remembering just exactly who his corp was with the Bears. But
Because
in terms of
pre DJ Moore, it was pretty bad.
yes, it was.
Yeah.
It was.
So
what I would say is that it's probably one of the least experienced. George Pickens only being, in Austin, Calvin Austin III. Like a lot of these guys are really inexperienced that are starters. When Roman Wilson comes back, more of the same. So this is a really young offense, and everybody's learning on the fly. With Fields, is it crazy to say that he's one of the most experienced skill position guys out there right now, as young as he is?
Right.
But that's the truth of it. And they're all learning Arthur Smith's offense together. I'm amazed at how well Fields is starting to pick up the nuances of it as quickly as he is. It's really encouraging to see. And if you notice, there hasn't been an overload of RPOs yet. We haven't even begun to unlock that whole side of it yet. So once we get to it, and this might be the weekend that happens too. So that's something to watch for, especially against the Colts. Typically, when they run their defense, their guys are a little more undersized for speed. So this might be quarterback draws, stuff like that, power middle, a lot of power eye stuff to really manhandle the Colts D line. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for the way that Fields is developing. This is better than I think any of us probably could have imagined.
Yeah, it is. And so just going into this real quick. So in 2021, Justin Fields for the Bears, his top receiver was Allen Robinson. So he had Allen Robinson.
We're all Allen Robinson fans around here. What's wrong with that?
Darnell Mooney. And this was at the end of the Allen Robinson career arc.
Sure.
He got injured that year. He only played 12 games. Darnell Mooney ended up being the number one receiver. He had 1,055 yards on 140 targets from Fields. So not terrible, but when you're looking at him as your number one, that's pretty bad. I'd say this Steelers team is a little bit better on the outside than that. But I will say this, the depth behind Pickens is shaky. It really is. So I'm saying I'm not taking away from the thought that he's doing more with less, but it's not the worst he's ever played with, I don't think.
I just want to go off on a quick rabbit trail because you brought up a name that I thought might be a decent number 2 on this team that I don't know if the Steelers even consider with Darnell Mooney. Pickens on one side, Mooney on the other. I think because he's always had decent stats. I'm surprised that that's not somebody that they took another look at over the offseason.
Yeah.
But
yeah, he's in Atlanta with Kirk Cousins, and playing well there. I thought he would have been a good fit, but I don't know. Maybe they're going for the bigger body guys. Let me ask you this, okay?
Roman Wilson's going to be that dude.
Yeah,
Roman Wilson's
going
to be that dude.
I hope so. Let's do a hindsight is 2020 chat real quick. Troy Fautanu is hurt, right? Okay, he was your first round pick. If you're the Pittsburgh Steelers right now, knowing that your starting tackles for the rest of the year were going to be Broderick Jones on the right, Dan Moore Jr. on the left, would you have taken Brian Thomas Jr., the wide receiver, in the first round when he was still available when you were picking as the Pittsburgh Steelers over Troy Fautanu? And then you're talking about George Pickens, Brian Thomas Jr. as your 2, and then the rest of these guys filling in as 3, 4s, 5s. That sounds pretty enticing to me, but I'm not saying I would change it because Troy Fautanu is going to be really good. But that just sounds really enticing to me as a Steelers fan watching what we have at wide receiver 2 right now.
If it were my choice, we'd have a glut of corners because it'd still be Quinyon Mitchell.
Okay, yeah.
It would, I mean, that was the other obvious choice there at 20 that that was the only other choice that I think would have been possible at that point with Fautano on the board. That
Yeah.
in my opinion. But I wanted Quinyon Mitchell at that point. I wasn't disappointed that they took Fautanu, and I think it's going to work out either way.
Yeah.
So, but that would have been my choice, and we would have ended up with JPJ on one side, Quinyon Mitchell on the other.
Yeah.
I mean, think of the glut of secondary pieces we would have at that point. That was one of the sore spots for this roster during the offseason. We were all talking about how they were going to fill the cornerback room. Look how well they've been playing.
Yeah, really. And Quinyon Mitchell, man, he had the versatility. He's playing nickel for Philly, in a lot of their nickel and dime packages. He's playing inside. The Steelers could have just slid him in there with Dante Jackson on the outside or flip-flopped the guys around it. It would have been a great situation there too. So hindsight 2020, Troy Fautanu wasn't going to be here this year to play for the Steelers. Maybe they go a different direction. Probably not. They want to get that offensive line figured out, and he's their right tackle of the future. I firmly believe that. So let's keep talking some wide receivers here. Mark Tobin, we're watching Dallas and the Giants on Thursday Night Football right now. And Darius Slayton is kind of the forgotten man on this team. So Mark Tobin asks, should we trade for Slayton on the Giants if we are able to? I'd say he's an upgrade on what they have at wide receiver 2 right now. Not significantly, but is this a needle moving potential move if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, or would you go with something a little bit more needle moving?
I'm quickly trying to look up his stats, trying to figure out how tall he is.
He's a like, I don't know about the size, but
if he's no bigger than 6'2", then we've already got 50 of them on the team.
That's true.
We need bigger receivers. So if Slayton isn't, that would be my only thought to that. We've got enough short receivers. We've got to find some size. And even then, we could flex Muth out wide if we needed size for receivers. We've got a glut of tight ends too. Bringing in another pass catcher that's not an elite, borderline, an elite number 2, elite, borderline number 1. It just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense at that point, unless that's your point.
Yeah, 6'1", 200 pounds out of Auburn.
We got a bunch of those.
Roman
Wilson is what, 6 foot 200,
6 foot 180, I think is what he is. But
6 foot 180.
Yeah. Darius Slayton is the same exact size as Van Jefferson, basically.
Okay.
So they're similar body types. Slayton's a little faster, downfield threat.
At least Jefferson's got some experience in the offense already through training camp and reps, and so not much to be gained with Slayton.
No, the guy I want is CeeDee Lamb, who just scored a ridiculous touchdown, and that's never going to happen, obviously, because they just paid him big money, and that was never going to happen anyway. So
I mean, and ultimately, I think Pickens can be a better receiver than him.
Wow,
I do.
Okay,
the way there's not much separating the two of them. They're both extremely elite playmakers with really strong hands. They're both combat contested catch receivers. So it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. I'd take either one, really.
Absolutely. Okay. Kenny D, stop underestimating Calvin Austin. The Chargers did that and paid for it.
Yeah.
Man, if Arthur Smith figures out how to use him, this could be a legit argument here. Because you saw that in week 3, the big plays, the working the seams with him, using his speed and quickness. I was watching the QB School. I don't know if you watch JT O'Sullivan on YouTube with his QB School. He breaks down a bunch of the QBs throughout the week. He was talking about one specific play from the Steelers where they were working a deep combo route where it was Pickens running like a corner post, and then Calvin Austin III on the other side just streaking down the field. And JT O'Sullivan, the guy talking over the video, right, doing the breakdown, he says he says George Pickens doesn't look like he's running here. He's slow. Look at the other guy on the other side of the field. Look how fast he gets down the field. I'm like, bro, that's Calvin Austin the third. He's fast, man. That's 4.29, 4.31 speed. George Pickens 4.4 speed. He's got speed, but he ain't getting down the field like 19 is getting down the field. So
Right.
this is legit. This guy's got legit speed. You saw it. As soon as he caught the slant and broke between the safeties, I was like, oh, there's no way anybody catches him. And the credit to the Chargers safety who was kind of right there stride for stride with him, but just couldn't catch him in time. And Calvin Austin's going to do that. If you give him a crease, he's gone.
Yeah, and I think he's finally starting to understand the finer points of route running. One of the things that is looked over sometimes is the fact that he was able to take a master class in footwork from Deontay Johnson for a year, so he was able to understand how to use footwork to set advantages for yourself in your route running. Now he's starting to understand the finer points of route running, how to sit on routes, how to maneuver people into position to get a better route and get open. And now he's starting to put it all together.
Yep, absolutely. I wish CA3 had a little more lateral agility, says Afton Forred. I agree with that. He's a straight line speed guy. Not as quick as he is fast. Roman Wilson, boy, once you get that boy on the field, I think you're going to see some of that quickness. And that's what's going to be fun to watch. The Steelers have to play him this week, right? He was a scratch late last week after a limited week and then a full participation on Friday. He's full this week. I think he's ramping up to play. I'm excited to see what he can be in this offense. Add him in there. And then Joseph asks, what do you think of Scotty Miller's play? And I thought that he's been great in the role playing that the Steelers have had him in. And that is exactly what you have to do. This isn't a guy that you're going to want to pepper with 10 targets a game or anything like that, or use as your two. But a lot of those quick outs, some of the stuff deep down the field as a field stretcher, Scotty Miller can do some of that. And you like his tenacity on the field. But what do you think of Scotty Miller? Is he a guy that the Steelers should be giving more of a role to, or does he take a back seat when Roman Wilson gets on the field?
I think Scotty Wilson's going to be used a lot in 4 and 5 receiver sets as one of the interior receivers a lot more. But as you said, as Roman Wilson comes back, works his way into it, he's probably going to find his snaps dwindle a lot, simply because of the talent on the field. That's why Scotty's getting some availability right now, is because Roman's not on the field. Once he comes back and Roman Wilson fills that role, it's writing's going to be on the wall at that point, if you can understand what I'm saying. So with Roman Wilson, I'm going through the Slack channel that Dave Schofield was talking about, our own Dave Schofield here. He says that Roman Wilson was a full participant Wednesday and Thursday. So I think he has to play this week, unless he's got some kind of setback in the next 2 days.
Yeah, and you got to think the Steelers drafted him to be a part of this offense this year. Mm-hmm. That's the only thing that's made sense to me why they didn't push a little bit harder to add somebody. Is like, you've got to feel good about one of these guys, and we're just not seeing it from Jefferson, Calvin Austin III. We hadn't seen it until week 3. And is that something where it was just game planned up, schemed up, and he had a good week? That happened last year, 1 week. I think it was week 3 last year. Same type of thing happened. He had over 100 yards. He had a big play. So is that more of like a one-hit wonder for the Steelers? Where can they get some consistency? To me, you have to believe in a guy like Roman Wilson, who you drafted in the 3rd round, who you like out of Michigan. You like his play style. He is a guy that you brought in because you think he fits the system and you like what he can do. I think he's been their quote-unquote backup plan outside of the trade market. And he's got to hit the field at some point. And once he's healthy, I think they're just making sure he's healthy. I'm excited to see him healthy and on the field in his first game action. And I'm sure he is too, man. I'm sure he's itching to get out there on the field, even more so than we are to see him.
So with Roman Wilson, he's going to be your play in, play out. He's going to be your Hines Ward, tough yards, kicking ass with a smile type guy. And, Calvin Austin III is going to be, he's going to be that haymaker that comes out of left field in the 10th round. As they're setting up the body blows all game long with the run game. Arthur Smith is, poking and prodding here and there, finding the soft spots, and then all of a sudden, third, fourth quarter, there it goes, boom, hits Calvin Austin,
Yeah.
hits with the home run, and that's going to be his role. And it's not, if that's his role and he perfects it, that's a good career. I mean,
Yeah.
Mike Wallace made a career out of that for a long time. So
Yeah.
it can be profitable for him if he understands how to maximize his role in it.
Yep. And I think the Steelers kind of quietly have a lot of speed in that wide receiver room once he's healthy. I mean, Van Jefferson and Calvin Austin are both 4.3 guys, and then you add Roman Wilson in there, who's a 4.3 guy. That's a lot of speed. And George Pickens has enough speed as well. One thing I think we're going to see this week, I think we're going to see a deep shot to Pickens, designed for it. They've been setting it up for 3 straight weeks. I think they hit one this week. And I think this is a good matchup to do that. And man, I'm so ready for it. I'm so ready for
no flag, no flags.
No flag. And I think there's going to be a ton of Steelers fans at the RCA Dome or whatever they call it these days.
Lucas Oil. Always is.
It Lucas Oil?
There always is.
Whatever.
Oh yeah.
RCA Dome's old, man. I'm feeling old saying RCA Dome, Lucas Oil Stadium. But
no, that's back when it was. I think that was back when it was still the Dome, right? Before they moved in to the place where they're at now.
So it's like a square topped roof. Yeah, it was a dome before. Yeah, RCA Dome. That's the Peyton Manning years, man.
Yeah, the early years. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm there too. I'm old.
It doesn't feel right. I don't think of myself as old, but when I start talking about stuff like that or bringing that up, it makes me feel it. But
I mean, Peyton Manning's rookie year was already when I was 21 years old, so that ought to tell you how old I am.
Yeah. I won't keep digging further on that topic. I don't want to get there for myself either. But Corey, I want to give you kind of the floor here to just talk about maybe some areas that if the Steelers were to walk out of Lucas Oil Stadium this weekend at 3-1 instead of 4-0, what does that look like in your opinion? How do the Colts make that happen?
By allowing the Steelers to beat themselves. We kind of alluded to that earlier. If the Colts can manage to pull some turnovers, it gets them if the Steelers have unforced errors, if they have penalties false start penalties, pre-snap penalties, things like that. Those are things that kill drives. We've talked about that before. When you set yourself up in 3rd and long because you've got a holding penalty that negated a 58-yard run or something, you're killing yourself in the game, and that's an easy way for the Colts to stay in this game. By all standards, these types of games are why they say this is why you play the game, because in all reality, the Steelers should win this game. There's the matchups, the internal matchups, the one-on-ones, they're all in the Steelers' favor. But it comes down to if the Steelers beat themselves or if the Colts are able to make plays and get off the field on the money downs, if they're able to get off the field on 3rd downs in the red zone, force the Steelers to kick field goals all game long, hang in there enough so that Anthony Richardson can make a couple plays with his legs or with his arm down the field in some broken coverage. Because we saw that last week with the Chargers as well, that, if you hold on long enough to, the play, the coverage could break down enough and you can make a play. Those types of things, if they, you could Tim Tebow your way through a game, you really could.
Yeah. I think the way it happens is the Steelers get caught sleeping on some of the, the design, some of the running plays. They're focused in on the run. They get caught sleeping on a play action pass, and Anthony Richardson uncorks a 65-yarder to somebody.
To Pittman Pierce, or somebody else.
Or Pittman, down the field.
Hopefully that's where I have him on my fantasy team.
Yeah, I do too. I picked him up after the first week, and he rewarded me in week 2, but week 3 wasn't as good. So I'm not starting him this week. I don't typically start players against fringe flex players. I don't typically start those guys against the Steelers because I don't want to have to root both ways. But no, that's how I think it happens. If the Steelers walk out 3-1, it's because they got They got beat deep a couple times and just weren't able to get enough going on offense to make up for it. So, yeah, and if they beat themselves too, that's definitely in play. But I don't know, man. There's the thing that lingers in the back of my mind, and I'm sure yours and most Steelers fans as well, is that Mike Tomlin's Pittsburgh Steelers always have that one game. Last year it was 2 games back to back. Is this that one game? So early in the season, will we see it later on down the road?
I know exactly where we're going to see it, and it's going to break everybody's heart.
Oh boy. Tell us now, Nostradamus. What you got?
The Monday nighter against the Giants at home.
Oh yeah,
Monday nighter. I mean, Tomlin's record
where the
against
Steelers
Monday
haven't
nighters.
lost.
I mean, like that game would make absolutely no sense to lose, and
we'll find a way to lose by a point on the last play of the game or something like that. Daniel Jones hasn't thrown for 300 yards in a game all season long until that game.
5 touchdowns. Yeah, that's exactly what it's going to happen.
Is Daniel Jones the answer? All the headlines, man. I see it already. Let's stop with the negative talk. It's been fun, Corey. I see the Steelers winning this week. My score is 23-16. What's your score?
I think I had 27-13. I think this is going to be the game where the offense finally starts to open up the passing game in the middle. I just think, like I said before, I don't think I don't think Justin Fields is going to have to pass a whole lot. I don't think he's going to hit 20 passes. I think Najee's going to hit 100, 150 yards, 2 touchdowns. I think he's going to feast this week in the run game, and that's going to shorten up this game. But the Steelers, in their possessions, they're going to be a lot more efficient this week.
Yeah. To your point earlier about the Steelers just running the football well, but also you said you'd love for the first snap of the game for the Steelers to be a play action deep shot over the middle of the field, something like that. The Steelers under Arthur Smith through the first 3 weeks, 48% of their first down plays are under center running plays. I saw that stat today. That, to me, with a guy like Arthur Smith, that's a setup. He's setting you up for something in a game where he's going to need it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Make this the game. Let's go into Dallas week with a 33-10 win over a bad Colts team. Why don't we do that?
I can't help but sit here and think, when you sit here and your first down plays are 48% run plays. 2 years ago, as a Steelers fan, you would have dreaded hearing that number.
Yes.
And now here we are, we're talking about Arthur Smith, and now we're excited about it. Why? Because we actually have confidence that our running game is actually going to be able to do its job now.
Yeah. Yep.
It's a great thing to be a Steelers fan in that part again.
Yeah.
Well, and they will. They will. I mean, this could be that game where they do that. I like I said, I think the matchups are in Steelers' favor. A lot of the matchups are in the Steelers' favor. I think that they have a good chance to really just take control of this game. The offensive line has a great chance to take control of this game and just really put it to the defensive line of the Colts.
No DeForest Buckner this week for the Colts. He's out. That hurts. So, yeah, I think the Steelers could definitely have their way. I'm hoping for it. I know everybody here listening is hoping for that as well. Corey, it was great to have you on the show. We'll have you on again this year to break down more of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Man, it's always fun. Thank you for joining.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, Jeremy. It's always a pleasure to be here, buddy. Yeah,
no problem. We'll talk to you all soon. Thank you for tuning in to the Steelers Q&A. Until next time, go Steelers. Have a good one.
Living a good life.